Next, it's down and out, Oregon style, with homegrown greats from the game of football. This tough, intelligent quarterback with the strong arm was drafted in the 3rd round. Then Dan Fouts went on to write NFL record books. Chris Miller would play 10 years in the NFL, but learn how brutal the game treated its playmakers. And from Oregon State University, Bill Enyart set the standards for bruising fullbacks in NFL. All next on Great Athletes, Great Oregonians.
Today's show will cover football players who competed, won, and became legendary members of the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. Before heading to San Diego in 1972, our first inductee set every available passing record at the University of Oregon. Then in 15 seasons with the Chargers, he became the 2nd all-time passer in NFL history and the 3rd passer to throw for 40,000 yards after Johnny Unitas and Fran Tarkenton. As shared by a Duck teammate, here are more outstanding achievements of Oregon Sports Hall of Fame inductee Dan Fouts.
We were not one of those national football powerhouses the media likes to follow, but we were good. We won a few games and we lost a few, just like everyone else. But we always felt that we had a chance. All you want as an athlete is to be able to look around the locker room, look at your teammates, and say, we have a chance. And every time I looked around that locker room and looked at the guy who played quarterback for us, I knew that we had a chance of beating anybody that we played. He was as cool as they come under fire. He wanted to win as bad as anybody I've ever been around. He was the ultimate leader. I'd have to say he was probably the best quarterback that I had ever played with. In the huddle, no one had to ask any questions whether or not a guy could do the job, because this guy had a cannon where his right arm should have been. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ahmad Rashad, and our guy was Dan Fouts. He eventually became one of the very best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And just for the record, when Dan finished at Oregon, he held every passing record available. And when he retired from football altogether, I guess his stats weren't too bad either. 15-year veteran in the National Football League. He had a 60% accuracy, 154 touchdown passes. 15 times he threw for over 300 yards in a game. You would think I'd know my stats this well. I don't. I know Dan's. He also led the NFL in passing 4 times. He completed 3,297 passes for a total of, get this, 43,000 yards. Number 2 in NFL history. And it wasn't so much for him that when we both played in the Pro Bowl, we always made it a point of going over, reliving our Oregon days by playing catch, even though he played for the AFC and I played for the NFC. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Fouts is as good as it gets. Every receiver in the NFL wants a guy like him at quarterback. He's tough, he's competitive, he's smart, he's a winner, he's also a hell of a great guy. And one other thing, he's also old. I had the pleasure of being inducted into the State of Oregon Sports Hall of Fame in 1987, and I know it's a wonderful honor, so let me be the first to give you congratulations, Dan. You earned it.
Another University of Oregon quarterback to make it big in the NFL is Chris Miller. Drafted 13th overall in 1987 by the Atlanta Falcons, he would go on to play 10 NFL seasons. Like all sports, football is full of goals and rewards. But after achieving so many, Chris Miller now enjoys giving back.
Perhaps no greater hometown hero in the state of Oregon than Eugene's Chris Miller. From Sheldon High School to the Oregon Ducks to an NFL career to the coaching ranks, Chris Miller is an example of perseverance and excellence. Miller truly emerged as a leader on the gridiron. Chris broke out of the pack of quarterbacks to guide the rising fortunes of Rich Brooks' Duck squads back there in the mid-'80s. He might have never attained a bowl appearance or top 5 ranking, but Chris Miller was the backbone of the teams that started the ascent of Oregon football to its current greatness. The Atlanta Falcons made Miller the 12th overall pick in the 1987 NFL Draft. Chris Miller showed incredible durability, playing 10 seasons for the Falcons, Rams, and Broncos. His finest work? Leading Atlanta to the second round of the 1991 playoffs. It was his love of the game and the camaraderie of his teammates that fueled Chris's comeback drive 4 years after his initial retirement. Back home in Eugene, Miller has been successful in several business ventures and has also kept his hand in the game as a coach. He began as an assistant at Marist High School. Now, he has his own team and a new challenge. In less than 3 seasons, Miller has restored South Eugene to prominence after 17 years without a playoff appearance. The hometown hero has come full circle. Number 12 will always have his heart in Eugene as a player and now as a coach, Chris Miller.
Well, I think that, I was a Sheldon High School grad from down there, so there was a little friction when I took the South Eugene job down there. But I think the biggest change, the biggest impact that I've made is it's a big academia school. Soccer's huge, track's huge, so football wasn't even a focus. They hadn't had a winning season since '92. So I think the whole thing that I've brought there, that our coaching staff has brought, is passion, playing with heart, playing with passion. And respect, earning respect. You don't want to walk off that field and have people look at you and laugh at you and not respect you. So I think that's one thing we really instilled in our kids, is to go out there and bust your butt as hard as you can in the weight room, classroom, on the field, play hard, and when you walk off that field, have people respect you. And we're earning people's respect now. We've been able to teach a lot of football, obviously. We've brought a lot more football knowledge than I think they've had there in the past. But it's great. I love it. Friday nights, I got a big game tomorrow night against Thurston High School, who's 4-1, so I can't wait.
So you're pumped?
I'm ready to go.
Oh, my goodness.
Coming up, no, the floor didn't just move. That's Bill Earthquake Inyart running up the yards as a Beaver running back. He'll be back after the break.
Great athletes, great Oregonians. From the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame is sponsored by Nike and by D.A. Davidson. Financial advice for the long run.
D.A. Davidson, financial advice you can trust.
The Oregon Sports Hall of Fame recognizes and celebrates Oregon's rich athletic history. It's built on the premise that the lessons of sport provide a unique opportunity for self-discovery. Through an extensive memorabilia collection and exciting interactive exhibits, the Hall teaches and reinforces character and values. Each year, the Hall commits to lifelong rewards in the form of scholarships awarded to high school student athletes. Contact us about this process and the annual induction ceremony at your Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
The Oregon Sports Hall of Fame has an expansive collection of memorabilia, including some great football memorabilia. We have the game ball from the 1917 Rose Bowl, the third Rose Bowl ever played. Oregon was playing Pennsylvania. The Ducks beat them 14-0. It marked the first victory by a Pacific Coast team over an Eastern Coast team in a major bowl game. This was big because prior to this, all the power was on the East Coast. 40 miles away from Eugene in Corvallis, we have a photograph 50 years later of DeAndros and Bill Inyart, his running back, caked in mud. The 6'3", 230-pound bruising fullback grew out of the Black Tornado in Medford, Oregon, and became the Earthquake at Oregon State. Here's the story of Hall of Fame inductee Bill Inyart.
Bill Inyart, the massive fullback from Medford, would be a target for defenses his entire football career at Medford High School and at Oregon State University. At 6'3" and 230-plus pounds, you couldn't miss him, even in DeAndros' full house backfield. And there was no question who was going to carry the football for the Beavers on any given down. Bill Inyart gained notoriety for playing on successful teams and posting incredible rushing statistics based on volume and productivity. By graduation, teams that Inyart played for had compiled records of 26 wins and only 3 losses. Like many players from the Rogue Valley, Enyart chose OSU for his college career. His power and durability were well suited for DeAndre's version of power football. Earthquake was a stalwart of the backfield, sometimes the first, second, and third option as the ball carrier. And for the best teams of the Andros era, including the Giant Killers of 1967. Bill would rewrite the record books, setting numerous rushing records at the time, and some that stood the test of time for 30-plus years. 2,155 yards and 150 points scored in 3 years. In 1968, Enyart seemed to carry the ball almost every down, finishing with what was then a school record 1,304 yards. On an incredible afternoon in Salt Lake City, Enyart carried the ball 50 times in one game against the University of Utah for 299 yards. His NFL career with the Buffalo Bills and the Oakland Raiders was cut short by injury. And Enyart still says, the best thing about football is the friends that you make along the way. Now working in Bend as a care provider, a state of Oregon legend twice over, the Earthquake, Bill Enyart.
Coach Andros, I think the biggest thing about him is he got us all to Oregon State, those of us who were smart enough to go there, and he made us believe in ourselves. I think Coach his favorite poem, The Man in the Glass, he says, read that, the guy you knows you did your best is in that mirror when you look in there, and really if you can face him, you're successful. And Coach, he got us thinking that way. Where all the players at Oregon State I played with are great, accountable people, successful people, and just people I'm proud to have known and played ball with.
Earlier in the show, we told you the story of inductee Chris Miller. The Oregon Sports Hall of Fame, as part of its collection, has a Chris Miller autographed Ducks jersey, also his Hayward Award-winning trophy from 1987. Miller had a sensational teammate at the University of Oregon in 1983, Gary Zimmerman. Zimmerman was the greatest offensive lineman to ever come out of the University of Oregon. Drafted in the first round, 1984, by the New York Giants, 7 Pro Bowl appearances. He won a Super Bowl championship in 1998 with John Elway and the Broncos. Now, the best lineman to ever wear a Ducks or Denver Bronco uniform, Gary Zimmerman.
Gary's quickness and speed were perfect for the trapping and pulling that the offense featured. He also developed into a great pass blocker. His senior season began with his picture on the cover of the media guide and was called by Coach Brooks as the best offensive lineman he had ever coached. He still is, by the way. Gary's performance was nothing but special his senior season, as the season-ending awards would show. Gary was awarded First Team All-Pac-10, UPI, and All-Coast Team. He was named the Pac-10 Offensive Lineman of the Year, voted on by the players, and he received the Morris Trophy from the Pac-10 Conference. Sporting News named him to the Second Team All-American, and the AP and UPI teams named him to the Third Team All-American teams. The New York Giants traded their right to the Minnesota Vikings after selecting him 3rd overall in the supplemental draft. Gary told New York he would not play there because he wanted to be somewhere in the outdoors. He likes to fish and he likes to hunt. After some great years with the Minnesota Vikings, he signed with the Denver Broncos and became a regular at the All-Pro team at left tackle. He was generally regarded as the best player at left tackle in the entire league. The final chapter of his 12-year career came in 1997 when Denver lured him back from Sisters, Oregon to join the team after training camp to make a run at the Super Bowl. Denver would go on to defeat Green Bay, and Gary would win his championship ring.
I chose the U of O because they said I could play middle linebacker. But the first day when I arrived, I went down to the locker room and my jersey said number 75. And I took that jersey and I went over to the equipment cage. And I said, there's a problem, the wrong jersey's in my locker. And the guy stuck his head out the cage, looked at my shoes, stuck his head back in the cage, and said, there's no mistake. I said, what do you mean? He said, your shoes match. He said, you're too smart to play defense. Thank you to everybody who helped me get here. It's a great honor and I take pride tonight. Thank you.
D.A. Davidson, financial relationships built on loyalty.
At that age, just participate. She doesn't like soccer, but she likes basketball. So I'm going to do everything I can to be very positive towards basketball. Oh, you're a great dribbler. Oh, that's a great pass. Oh, I can't wait to your games. And she gets that gleam in her eye like, oh man, I must be pretty good. And soccer, she just didn't enjoy it. But she's participating in basketball. So if she didn't like basketball, it might be the piano, might be a non-sport related activity. Hey, that's fine too. Whatever that might be, I'm going to really push my child to go for that.
I think a lot of people learn so much from sports just by learning how to lose gracefully and with dignity, and they can take it for the rest of their life. And that's what I think our kids need to know today.
Over the years, Oregon football has produced many outstanding athletes and individuals. This Oregon Duck helped set the standard for what a star University of Oregon football player had to have. Here's the story of Jim Shanley.
Jim hit the ground running in his first year in Eugene. In 1955, he carried the ball for 711 yards, 10th best in the nation, and he led the Ducks in receiving. Shanley was Oregon's most valuable player in his senior year and co-captain of the Rose Bowl participants. He won several All-America honors that year as well. His rushing, scoring, and 3,000-plus all-purpose yards still hold up in UO's old-time top 10s in various categories. True to the grinded-out nature of Len Casanova's offenses of the era, Shanley racked up all those yards without ever achieving a 100-yard game. Jim's prowess at returning punts earned him a spot in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers. He stayed in the game after his retirement as a player, coaching with the legendary Jim Sweeney at Washington State. A constant on the field as a player, a consistent achiever, Jim Shanley is Oregon's Iron Man of record.
The lessons these inductees are sharing have the ability to impact all of us. High school student athletes are absorbing the lessons they see every day. With me now is Elijah Greer, Lake Oswego High School, cross country, track and field. You run the 800 meters, the 1500 meters. What's your biggest accomplishment?
Last year I set the national junior class record for 800 meter dash, and that was a real eye-opening race for me. It was a new experience, and it kind of helped bring me to the next level of competition. When I do running, it takes a lot of mental focus, a lot of preparation, and before each race, I have to visualize the outcomes, the result, and it all kind of brings my success. And with that, I can transfer that to other areas of my life.
When you talk about track and field, I mean, in other sports, there's a team element, and in running, you're really out there alone, aren't you? I mean, and you're by yourself. What about running can you take into other parts of your life?
It's a lot of kind of just discipline. It's doing the work, putting your time in, and then seeing your results. And that's just something that can carry over in almost any aspect of life, is when you enjoy what you're doing, you're having fun, but you're also working hard. Then when you see that success, when you see those results, you're like, this is a lot of fun, this is something I'm good at. And then it just kind of motivates you to do even more the next time.
When you look at the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame, you've got Steve Prefontaine, you've got the great history at the University of Oregon in track and field. You'll go there to run. What's that going to be like for you?
You know, I haven't been there yet, but I'm definitely excited about it. I think there's great coaches, Vin Lanana, Andy Powell, and I think those guys will help develop me and they'll help take me to the next level, and I'll be around a lot of great influences, guys that'll help, they'll support me and bring me on.
Because most kids, you say, hey, you have to go run, and they go, oh, they dread it. I mean, you love it? You love to run?
It's something to kind of channel my energies. It's a passion. You know, at first you could almost say running chose me because I had so much success with it, but I've learned to, you know, go through the good days and the bad, you know, the good things and the bad things.
All right, good luck to you. Thank you, Elijah.
Coming up, big, fast, agile with good hands. That's the read on Sheldon High School's own Todd Christensen. Next on Great Athletes, Great Oregonians.
D.A. Davidson, financial advice you can trust.
The Oregon Sports Hall of Fame recognizes and celebrates Oregon's rich athletic history. It's built on the premise that the lessons of sport provide a unique opportunity for self-discovery. Through an extensive memorabilia collection and exciting interactive exhibits, the Hall teaches and reinforces character and values. Each year, the Hall commits to lifelong rewards in the form of scholarships awarded to high school student athletes. Contact us about this process and the annual induction ceremony at your Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Great Athletes, Great Oregonians from the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame is sponsored by Nike and by D.A. Davidson, financial advice for the long run.
Our final inductee began his football career at Eugene Sheldon High School. He went on to become one of the most prolific tight ends in NFL history. Todd Christensen.
It wasn't until we came to Eugene, Oregon, it didn't take Todd long to realize that he was a bit stronger physically than the boys his age. He played football beginning in about the 5th grade. He was recruited quite widely in high school. He started continually after that for BYU in the 4 years that he was there. He became their leading pass receiver. Of course, they throw a lot. But he ran the ball a lot, too, at the BYU. His freshman year was the first year BYU ever went to a bowl, and after that he went to a couple of bowls with them, and Todd was drafted in the 2nd round by the Cowboys. And Al Davis picked Todd up, and he played for the Raiders. I think Todd enjoyed the Raiders an awfully lot. It was evident then that he really did enjoy the fellas with the Raiders, and he enjoyed their competitiveness, and he enjoyed the reputation they had, even though I think sometimes it was somewhat distorted. Todd played in 5 Pro Bowls, participated in 3 Super Bowls, playing in the last 2. But this brings it all home, brings it all together for him.
For my mother, I'm extremely thankful for your willingness as I came home with mud dripping all over me to wipe that mud off, to rain me off. I'm grateful for the competitiveness that you put into me as well as my good looks. Thank you, June Lee Christensen. I'm grateful for a father that took me out on the front yard one time. The 60-yard dash was marked out front, and we, of course, as I went to football, I marked it to 40, and he was willing to come out and time me, and I'm grateful to you, Dad, for timing me in 4 flat to boost my confidence. Thanks a lot, Dad. And last and most, I wish to thank Kathleen Simmons Christensen. The athletes in front of you today, unfortunately, part of the byproduct of being an athlete and what's indigenous to most of us is a certain self-absorption and arrogance and egoism that sometimes separates us from the pack and affords us the opportunity to do our own thing. I am grateful to you, Kathleen, for your nurturing spirit, for your kindness, and being the world's greatest mother. Browning once said that man's reaches to exceed his grasp, else why is there heaven? Well, all I can say to you this evening is there are probably many more deserving people to be in the Oregon Hall of Fame, but you will not find anybody more grateful. Thank you very much.
The inductees on today's show all went on to play in the NFL, the highest level of competition in their sport. They had discipline, strength, respect, humility. Above all, they had a freedom of focus, the ability to tune out distraction, pain, and injury, and compete at the highest level possible. Our inductees loved football, and it was good to them, but they loved it so much that they found ways to stay around it and give back. I think we can all learn from that. Look for future episodes of Great Athletes, Great Oregonians.
D.A. Davidson, financial relationships built on loyalty.